afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the October 17th meeting of the Mount Vernon City School District. Roll call.
Please stand for the pledge.
Oh, stand for the pledge. I'm sorry. Should I take it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hold on one second. Trustee Williams. Present. Trustee Russo. Present. Trustee Torres. Present. Trustee Zamore. Trustee McOwen. Present. Trustee Ning. Trustee Jaros. Here. Trustee White. Present. Trustee Saunders.
Here.
Just so that everyone knows, Trustee Zamore intends to participate via video conferencing, but we're having some network issues. So as Mr. McGrath gets him up and running, he'll be joining the meeting remotely from High Point, North Carolina.
You want to put him on audio?
Hung up on me. He can at least listen. Communications.
Okay, communication from the public next.
Good evening, everyone. The Board of Education recognizes the critical importance of community discourse and involvement in the education of Mount Vernon's children, and accordingly, members of the public are invited to speak at each regularly scheduled board meeting, subject to the terms of board policy. A speaker must register in advance by no later than 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting by contacting the district clerk in person here at 165 North Columbus Avenue, by phone at 914-665-5235, or via email at rmccormick@mtvernoncsd.org. The board welcomes all respectful comment, whether praise or criticism. However, identifying and criticizing a specific student, parent, teacher, administrator, or other Mount Vernon education official or employee is strictly prohibited. Any such complaints must be presented and addressed through the proper administrative channels. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes to speak, with up to an additional minute to be used for the speaker to summarize and conclude their remarks. If appropriate, board trustees and/or the superintendent or other staff members at the discretion of the superintendent may respond at the conclusion of public comment. Our first speaker tonight is Norman Hauptmann. Second speaker is Joanna Weiss. Destiny Crump. Timothy Crump. Brenda L. Crump. Thomas Keller. That concludes public comment.
Motion to adjourn? No, I'm just-
Okay. So we'll go to superintendent reports.
Oh, wait, I wasn't ready.
Okay. Let's move it right along.
Wait. Okay, I do have a few things to share with you. Good evening, all. First of all, I just want to give you a little an update on a couple of things. We are currently working on creating a brag book for our community which captures the state of the district and a status report on the 2020 implementation. We've been working in committee to review the expansion of our full-day pre-K program in conjunction with the construction plan, along with the pre-K-8 reconfiguration for our district. And while redistricting is inevitable, once the new classrooms are online, we will be looking at minimizing the impact as much as possible. So I want to make sure our families know that we will be forced at some point to redistribute our school boundaries, certainly within the next year or two. And this information we will be putting together will give folks an opportunity to see exactly where we are as a district with moving forward with the 2020 implementation and what the plans will be for expanding the K-8 configuration. A lot of this is contingent on the construction plans being on schedule and our capacity to implement a phase-in approach so that our students will be able to stay in their neighborhood schools and expand pre-K simultaneously. So that's what we're working on, and we hope to have that information in your hands very soon. But the committee has been working very diligently to iron out the logistics of implementing the particulars of the plan, and that includes what the budgetary implications are, what staffing will be, what school students may potentially end up attending, what class size will look like, when we will be able to roll this out and where, and what the district lines will be. And we have some challenges because the district's lines are not as clear as we would like them to be. But we're putting all this information together, and we are doing this on a committee basis, because our principals also have some questions about how this impacts ordering for next year. But those are the kinds of details that we are working out. As soon as we get that information all sorted out, we will be sharing that with you and our community in a document that they will be able to peruse at their convenience. We're also proud to report that we have an unprecedented opportunity, and Joe McGrath can answer any additional questions if necessary. But we have an unprecedented opportunity to alleviate the digital inequity with our high school students. So for only the cost of our time and support partnerships with Sprint over the next 5 years, starting this year, we will be able to provide up to 350 of our qualifying free and reduced ninth grade students with free smartphones with an unlimited voice, text, and data plan. So every year for 5 years, an additional group of students will benefit. The students will have the devices and plans for 4 years or until they leave the district. And students will keep the device but not have the plans when they leave the districts. Students who qualify the program must be currently in the ninth grade and qualify for free and reduced and meet one of the following criteria. Students who do not have internet access in their home, or households that have multiple students but access to only a single computer, or students who only have access to dial-up internet at home. So by providing our students with this access, we are setting the stage for increased use of digital resources and practices in an equitable manner to ensure everyone's success and access. So we're excited about this. We are working out some parameters in terms of the acceptable use policy, and we will be rolling this out very soon. We already have the phones in our inventory, but this is a great way to really teach our children, one, how to use electronic devices responsibly as a learning tool, and it will also close the digital divide that sometimes perpetuates inequities for students who have access to internet and those who do not. So we'll be giving you more information on that. And there is actually an item on the agenda germane to this Sprint partnership. Our parent liaisons, principals, and leadership teams participated in a full-day Karen Map training today with the Family and Community Engagement Initiative. This training was provided by Scholastic and will be the springboard for additional professional development in order to fully maximize our resources to gain even more traction with various stakeholders groups. And there is an item, well, we already talked about pulling that item, the peace of mind item we're going to talk about a little later on. And those are the only items I have on the superintendent's report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. Reports from the president. I don't have much to report other than Trustee Torres, Trustee White, and Trustee Jaros and I went to Lake Placid last Thursday and attended the New York State School Board Convention. It was very well planned. We had classes on measuring board effectiveness, special education updates, board meetings, do's and don'ts, and wellness policies, and a whole host of other things. So we'll be sharing that with you as we go along. Other than that, I don't have anything else. So we could move right along to the committee reports.
Yeah.
Sure.
I just want to let everybody know that Skype is down, so Mr. Zamora will not be able to participate. We thought it was an issue on our end, but it's not. It's globally down. Me and Trustee Zamora both thought that we couldn't remember our passwords, and we subsequently reset them 3 or 4 times apiece, and we're good.
Okay. All right, so we can move right on to committee reports. Okay. Trustee Russo?
So the report, the committee report for clubs, Dr. Gorman, myself, and Gary Gregory met again, and we're trying to get this program up and running. We want to get it into as many schools as possible, but we want to take a slower approach so that it outlives all of our tenure. We're starting on the right path and gathering data, and I think this is going to be something that Mount Vernon can be really proud of. The end goal here is to make sure that these kids can add to their resume for college, get together with like-minded individuals for hobbies and different approaches to to handling day-to-day life, and we're doing a good start right now, I think, if Dr. Gorman wants to add anything to that.
We're basically, good evening, everyone. So, the committee that was formed by the Board of Education for this year spoke specifically about extracurricular clubs for students.
Right.
And so what we're doing is we're doing a full audit in all of our schools, and we're trying to give access to all kids to be engaged in extracurricular activities. We're looking at policy, we're looking at, we put out a survey now for students and school buildings, and we're going to pilot some clubs that most schools in the United States have. And so one of the driving forces was how do we get our kids to be as competitive with other kids in the career and college readiness process. And so the clubs we think will be a really good endeavor. We do want to anticipate, though, budgeting, and so we want to build it into this year's budget for next year. We want to empower principals and schools to take ownership of this process, and so we don't want to do that to them. We want to empower them to build this process where we are giving kids access to extracurricular activities in our school system. We're looking at the transportation department to see if we could get a bus running to the high school, and we're looking at different venues in different schools. And this committee is moving on a monthly basis, and we are diligently taking a nice, slow process to infuse a club program in our schools, which we think has been much neglected in Overton.
Absolutely.
If I can add, I think something like this, and there are going to be many other programs like it, but this is where we're going to find some diamonds in the rough. And we've talked about even developing it to where schools can compete against schools and start getting that pride back into the Mount Vernon school system over something as simple as we're floating chess. But we also want to, Glee Club, we also want to get the students' input, so it is taking a little bit of time, but I think moving at this pace, it's going to sustain it going forward.
Thank you. Trustee Jaros, do you have any?
Sorry, I'm on like 15 committees, so.
Oh.
So
Trust-
audit
Okay, let me,
committee.
Trustee Jaros, would you
Sorry.
mind joining a committee with Trustee Russo?
I'll consider what committee I'd like to join
Okay, when would you let us know?
my next meeting.
Thank you. All right, Trustee.
So we had a meeting of the audit committee last week, Ken? It was it was Ken Silver, myself, Scott Oling, did I say that right? The auditor from PKF O'Connor Davies, Tom Keller, another member from the community, and I believe there are going to be one or two other members of the community. We went over the numbers that the audit that all the trustees should have, and just bear in mind that there are deadlines to get this stuff into Albany, I believe, Kent? And he went over the base numbers, and it's pretty standard. This is a report of what happened in last fiscal year for the school system. Nothing out of the ordinary, and we're going to discuss it in greater detail later today, if that's not correct. Is that correct?
We could. We're asking the board to approve it.
Correct.
Our plan is to have O'Connor Davis will be present at a upcoming board meeting,
Right.
but because of our deadlines, we need to get it in. We could say that there were only 2 comments in the entire audit, both of which were we have too much money. In the general fund, we have a little over $1 million too much, and in the school lunch fund, we have too much. In both cases, there's a plan to take care of it.
So we're going to ask the board tonight to approve the draft that goes up, and going forward, Scott is going to present to the board at, I think, an upcoming meeting.
Can I just ask Dr. Silver, can you clarify for the public when you say we have too much money? See, when the public hears you say something like, we have too much money, they hear that very differently than we mean it.
Yes, we deal with it every day. Thank you. So we're allowed to have 4% of our current budget as the maximum in fund balance. So it's 4% of $246 million. We have about $1.5 million over that. And our plan for tonight is actually to ask the board to move all of that money into a restricted reserve for certiorari payments, as we do every year. We usually try to put as much as $2 million into it. This year it'll be, I think it's $1.5 million we're asking you tonight to approve. And so we will then be at our maximum allowable fund balance of 4%. Thank you.
If I can add to the certiorari, since I have a little background in that, those numbers have to be in for the tax year. However, some of those reductions don't happen in that tax year, so you still have to have money for years going forward which have reductions for back years. Is that correct?
Yes, so we have a restricted reserve for the past 4 years of up to $2 million for each year. And yes, there can be a judgment against us going back for a number of years, and the money that we reserve can only be used to apply to that year. So the $1.5 million or whatever for this year can only be used for judgments for this year. So judgments that go before or go beyond what we have to use general fund revenues, and we do not budget for that anymore. We just take it out of that, out of the reserves.
But it's also important to understand that we do have money in the reserves for prior years in case there are judgments down the pipeline.
Yes, we have about $8 million for prior years.
Thank you. Trustee
Should-
White?
Should I go with number 3?
Oh, my goodness.
All right. So we had originally decided to connect budget and audit, but then gave it some more thought, and we've now separated the Budget and Audit Committee, and our trustee Torres has been gracious enough to chair that, and I'll be stepping in to help her, attending meetings, whatever she needs. So she's going to be heading up the Budget Committee.
Okay, thank you. That's it?
Those are my 19 committees, yes.
All right, Trustee White?
Good evening. I sit on the Facility Committee, and right now, we're just moving on with the bond. So everything's right in place. We're right on time on most of our projects, and I listened to my friend Mike Paglicio, the head of this. So we're right on target, so don't worry. Just have patience. We're coming along.
Are you on any other committees?
Oh, yes, Education Committee. We will be meeting November 2nd at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you.
I don't chair that.
No? That would be Trustee Lane. Okay. All right, Mr. Williams?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to make a report from the FACE Committee, Family and Community Engagement. I want to talk a little bit about last week the district held parent university workshops. So Friday on the 13th, Grimes School held a meet and greet at 3:30 to 5. Davis, on the 14th, Davis Middle School held a workshop, Destination College, between 9 and 12. We have 2 more university workshops. 10:20 this Friday, we have Columbus School has a meet and greet at 3:30 to 5, and Friday, 10:27, Hamilton will also host a meet and greet. So what I want to talk a little bit, just to bring some clarity to some of the public, is, basically explaining what Parent University is and some of the benefits of it. Parent University is an ongoing outreach program to assist adults with the difficult and important task of helping children reach their full potential. We hold our Family and Community Engagement Committee holds our Parent University workshops to, the idea is to empower. It's to empower, so it's really good, but what we are focusing on is attendance, which is an issue in many districts, especially with this, because, as we all know, parents don't have the time or really desire to be lectured to, especially after work and, after a long day, so we have to find ways and focus on making sure that it's fun and timely. We also, also have to, find great speakers who will engage and really help our parents with the work. Parent University is for parents, it's for grandparents, it's for child care providers, anyone who, has that job and that role of taking care of children, the Parent University is for you. And it really helps because, the topics, there's so many different topics of discussion that could be brought up in these universities that go from a range of why kids don't listen to, what do we think a quality classroom looks like, what quality teaching, what quality learning looks like. So these are different topics that we'll discuss at the Parent University, and it's pretty important because it's the transparency that we want to bring to the community. So it's really for everyone. We appeal to parents, guardians of all ages. The philosophy of Parent University is that parenting is an ongoing learning process. And we know this because technology, every time we turn around, there's something new being created, and our children, they want something new, they're into something new. It's just how the world works, and this field of education, we have to be current as well. We have to, know what's catchy and what's outdated. Parents should also, and also we know that parents should be also valued members of the planning process. So even moving forward, we need the focus, attention, and commitment of the parents, to move forward, because we want to include you guys in the, in the work on the front end, rather than getting it all done and saying, well, what do you think? We want to include the community on the front end, and this is just one of the ways that we can do that. Not an easy thing, but it can and will be done. The concept is driven by ideas and needs of local area parents. So we're going pre-K through 8. Our schools are in hubs, so residents now, students now share more of a common interest in that school, I think, than ever before, because we are in these hubs and in these areas, in these neighborhoods, and, each neighborhood is different. Some are very similar and some are very different, so we need the community, the neighborhoods, to come out and explain what's different about this community and, give us some ideas and give you inputs on how to get better, because I think we can do that in different pockets. It's just different needs. So that's another area where Parent University will help. Parent University, like I said, is for everyone. It's for parents. If you're a parent who, has an issue with child care, you can bring your children. We're working on incentives. We're talking about team workshops as well, where we're not only doing parent workshops, we're doing team. Well, we're talking about doing team workshops. And in the team workshop, we'll be considering topics like credit education. We want to know that our students know how to balance a checkbook, without assuming that they do, that they come from a family who has the time to sit down and go through, how to do certain things. We don't want to take it for granted. So we want to have teen workshops as well. Parent University teen workshops to reach the ultimate goal. Topics, again, go from what children are learning in school to understanding how to navigate through the district calendar. We have different parents with different needs. They call Rick all day with totally different needs, but we want to address them all because we think they're all valid. So we want to come to our community, eye level, and we want to address the issues together. The cost of the Parent University is free. We don't have transportation right now, but we do, so the sessions are usually held on weekday evenings or Saturday mornings. I think we only have Friday evenings and Saturday mornings. So, for instance, on a Saturday morning, you would be able to bring your child and also have breakfast, which is, I think is a plus. We're not putting the breakfast out to get you there, but we know once you do get there, we want to make sure that you are ready to learn. Credit card education. And some of the, like I said, the benefits are just immense. They go a long way. Generation. I'll tell you a story. The curriculum and instruction night at Rebecca Turner was really good, and we had a fairly good turnout. But as I'm kind of going through and meeting some parents, there was an older gentleman there, up in his age, and it's also always good to see because we're looking at involvement. And I introduced myself to the guy. He had a veteran hat, so thank him and say thanks for coming out, and what do you think? And he looked and he said, my daughter tricked me to get here. And we laughed, but I'm still looking for his daughter because she gets it. She understands that, it's not a matter of, you're not excluded. So if we're in this together and we're raising these children together, yeah, Granddad, we're not going to put the work on you. We're not going to put the workload on you. But as far as communicating different learning styles and different ways to get it done, we need all hands on deck. So that was really good to see a different range of community members to come out and join the fight. After the session, parents offer feedback in a survey that asked them to identify something that they liked about the session, or 2 or 3 things that they've learned, or they're asked to explain the immediate actions that they will take as a result of the class, and also how the session can be improved, and also what they would like to learn more about. And that is a good thing, because that's described in one word. That's empowerment. We give the workload to them and we allow them to kind of regurgitate it and find the flaws, because they know we work for the community. Our work is for our students and our residents, our families. So we have a rough job there, but together it's a lot easier. Our goal is to send a strong message to the community that parents are welcome in all schools, and that we support the assistance that's needed for the success of all students and families. We advertise these events through monthly newsletters, flyers, and information sent out home, announcements at school, and our district website. So to the community, if you're interested or even maybe a little intimidated, it's okay. We are here for each other. Parents usually learn a lot more from parents, just like students learn a lot more from students. Same thing, teachers, because of the shared vision, commonality, and things like that. So retention kind of speeds up really fast. So if you're interested, please sit in on a session and join the fight to empower yourself, your family, and Mount Vernon. So last meeting, we were also talking about conversations about hurricane relief, district hurricane relief. So we know so many areas were affected throughout the South, in the islands, and again, I think our social responsibility is to respond in any way that we can. 8,500 students, 8,000 students, a population of 70, 80,000, I think we can respond. So what we're doing, we're talking about actually placing drop-off points at each school. And at the drop-off points, drop-off locations, we're looking to, collect items, diapers, formula, baby food, canned food, detergent, Clorox wipes, feminine hygiene products, large Ziploc bags, batteries, trash bags, work gloves, water filters, water, flashlights, bug spray, tarps, school supplies, basic medical needs, Band-Aids, peroxides, Tylenol, alcohol, antibiotic ointment. Everything we take for granted, we want to pull together, and we'll have it when, we'll talk more. We'll place these drop-off locations at each school, and hopefully we can make a significant contribution. And I think that's learning. We're teaching certain qualities and values in the district, and it's not just the teachers and principals who have that job. I think it's all of us. So we get this done, I think it'll be a big accomplishment for our district. That's all I have. The next FACE committee meeting will be October 24th at 8 a.m. at the district. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. Do you have topics when you advertise the workshops?
Topics? Yeah.
Okay, we're going to talk about this or that. Do you have topics?
Yeah, the topics vary depending on the speakers.
Yeah.
You know, so the speakers, kind of go off the strengths of the speakers. So.
When we get the robocalls, is it a topic? Come to the workshop and discuss X, Y, Z?
Yeah, we'll give the topic out, but what we want to do is expand those topics because, I think it can be an organic process where, obviously we have a lot of topics to, go over, but we miss out some key points, and this is where we want to bring the community in on the front end. If we can get them and say, listen, what topics do you guys want to discuss? If they say overwhelmingly, here's what we want to discuss, then I think they'll be there filling those seats.
Thank you. Okay, Trustee McGowan?
I just had a question, just related to community engagement for the superintendent. Do we have any feedback from the schools yet on how the SRO implementation is going and what the reaction and reception has
Mention
been?
that, because that's on my notes. I actually want to acknowledge Sergeant Carpenter and our SROs that are here this evening. Thank you very much. And our parent liaisons who are here this evening, thank you for your impact. The feedback has been phenomenal. It is working better in some schools than others. And that does not mean that it's not working where we have some challenges. But one of the things we anticipated is that the SROs would sometimes be to act in capacities outside their design roles. We were very concerned about that at its inception. And we're finding that oftentimes they are asked to intervene in situations that should be handled administratively or distracts them from their opportunity to really engage with students in the manner in which gives them the opportunity to build relationships rather than come in as law enforcement. So we're working to iron those kinks out. Sergeant Carpenter, is that a fair assessment? That is absolutely. Okay. So we're working those kinks out, and like I said, in some schools it's working seamlessly. In other schools we have some challenges, but we'll be working with the administrators in those buildings to work those kinks out. But the officers have been extremely receptive and responsive.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
While I have the floor, if I can just say something else, Madam President. I just received notification that the Performing Arts Magnet School has been awarded a grant to produce The Lion King this year. So we are honored to continue the representation in the district, and we already have the dates, so lock in the dates. The Lion King will be performed on January 26th through 28th. And we will also be doing our holiday concert this year will be a mass choir of children from across the district. And our goal this year, and that will be on December 8th, and our goal this year is to provide, 9th? December 9th, thank you, Rick, that's a Saturday. Our goal this year is to collect toys for families who have been impacted by the hurricane. In addition to our own residents. So we really want a big showing. We really want to be able to collect toys that we can share with families who have been impacted for the holiday season. So that's the Lion King in January and our holiday concert on December 9th, including a mass choir, all-city choir, featuring our students and some local and outside talent as well.
Okay, thank you.
No policy committee
Nothing for
reports
you.
made.
Okay, Trustee Torres?
I don't have a report.
Nothing for you, okay. Last week, I met with Felicia and Rachel, Special Education, regarding our, what we're going to do for our Special Education Advisory Meeting tomorrow, which is tomorrow at Rebecca Turner from 6 to 8. Our first meeting of the year is going to be about understanding your IEP. But we also discussed questions that parents had when they came to the Chat and Chew, which were after-school programs for special ed, And what we need to do is try to get transportation, so we don't know if we're going to have them go to their home school, because some of these students don't go to school in their neighborhood, so we're still working those kinks out. But more to come with that. The Wellness Committee meeting is going to be November 7th. Health and Physical Education Director Gary Gregory is getting people together to attend that meeting, so that'll be November 7th at 5:30, right before the board meeting. And that's all I have. Next are acceptance of minutes.
No minutes.
No minutes this meeting. Enter an executive session. Can we get a motion?
Motion.
For what purpose?
Rick?
The board is going to an executive session tonight for the purpose of discussing matters relating to the discipline of a person or persons, the employment history of a person or persons, several special education matters, and a negotiation of a property purchase.
Thank you. Motion's out there?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. How long? An hour? 8:30? Be back at 8:30. Thank you. Reconvene?
Trustee Torres, second. Trustee Jaros. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Please note that Mr. McOwen was not present.
This is the opportunity for board members to remove anything from the consent agenda.
I'm going to remove 13.4.
Okay.
Is that the authorization to pay creative direction?
Yes.
design, Construction.
A discussion.
Okay. 13.4, okay.
All right.
Is there anything else?
13.4.
Okay, anything else that needs to be removed? Rick, did you put the contract? in?
Yes, it's on part of consent.
Motion to approve consent agenda? Motion
Motion.
to approve consent agenda?
Motion.
Mr. Russo, second.
I'll second.
Trustee McOwen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Any unfinished business?
Oh, wait, we have the thing we pulled first.
The 13.4.
Oh, okay, suppose. Okay, Ms. White,
I think
you want to table it, or you want to, what do you want to do with it?
We can table it.
Table it for next meeting? Okay. How long do we put stuff on the table?
And we,
Trustee White's made a motion to table it.
Second?
Trustee Saunders seconded. All those in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Trustee Jaros abstains from tabling it. Motion carries.
So, unfinished business?
I just wanted to follow up on the discussion I've raised several times about naming some of our school buildings, or clarifying and settling on names. We talked about it at our last family community engagement meeting, and we're going to start with just some kind of conference calls with the individual schools at issue, with principals and their parent liaisons, and just get kind of a sense for their thoughts on the matter, and then decide on a school-by-school basis what the appropriate next step would be, if any.
So are we renaming all the schools?
No. To clarify, we talked about this before, there are some of our buildings that there is some confusion about what they are called. So,
I would encourage the committee to, I have found him to be an incredible resource to talk to Mr. Larry Spruill, or maybe Dr. Larry Spruill, actually, who is a huge historian and can tell you just about anything you want to know about Mount Vernon. And he can certainly share any historical information about why schools were named what they were and when they were named. And he's in Atlanta, Georgia now, but always available.
That's a
Great
great
resource.
suggestion, thank you.
Yeah.
In fact, I might have even spoken with him about the history of Thornton. That was a couple years ago. I talked to a historian, it must have been him.
He's an incredible guy.
Yeah. No, we're just talking about Lincoln, formerly Nichols, right?
No.
No, sorry. Columbus. See, even I can't keep them straight.
Columbus, that's Mandela.
Right. No.
No,
So-
Columbus is Nichols, old Nichols.
Columbus, I'm sorry. We have Columbus, formerly known
This
as
is
Nichols.
demonstrating the problem right here.
Mandela, which was formerly the Nichols Building. Graham, which was formerly known as DeWitt.
Mandela was Columbus.
Columbus on
Yes, I'm sorry.
Was Columbus, right. Right now, we're asking, sitting on the construction, we can discuss it, but we can't change it now, because SED, we have to use those names right now, because all our projects are in those names.
Yeah, understood. But we have, I mean, some of our buildings, as you know, have different names on on different sides of the same building, and it's causing confusion. Right. So,
Williams.
oh, the Williamses. And now we have the Mandela program is no longer at the Mandela building, so we have to figure out what are we calling the building formerly called the Mandela building. Anyway, each building is unique and has its own history and has its own stakeholders in the community. And some people care very deeply about the names of their buildings. Some people don't care at all. So, but we'll deal with it one time. But I just wanted to say we're
Okay.
going to keep talking about that. And at some point, I don't anticipate
Well, let's do that. That's
soon,
fine.
but at some point we will actually have a proposal.
Talking to Larry Sproul, I know a lot of the history also of most of the schools that have different names.
So we were going to find out about the $5 that security was charging the children.
Yes, so I'm glad you brought that up. The students are, you want to talk about it, Jeff? The students are charged $5 the second time they lose their ID cards, not the first. And that money goes to fund the scholarships that are offered at the end of the year to students.
And they give it to security? Get a receipt or anything? And, security really logging it?
Now, I'm not sure who it's paid to, I don't want to misspeak. But I do know that I spoke with Mr. Gonzalez when he came up at the last board, or meeting before last, about where the money goes and how is it utilized. And they get the first one free, the second one is $5, and it goes to the student activity account for scholarships.
So it's just at the high school?
Yes.
They had a hard time holding the kids accountable at the ball.
They don't lose their cell phones, though.
There's got to be some consequence for it.
Did they also work out a problem with kids standing online that have the IDs and waiting for the people?
The kids who were standing online were not, as I'm told, not the kids who had the IDs. They were the kids who didn't have the IDs who had to be entered manually. The kids who were coming in with their IDs, they're scanned and they're processed very quickly. When they get in line and they don't have their IDs, then they have to be entered manually so that they are getting credit for being in school.
Should probably,
That process does take longer, and those
should have
youngsters
two
are-
lines for the ones that have their IDs.
Well, it's actually subsiding because now kids are more acclimated to the process, and they want to avoid it, so they're being more responsible. So since that meeting, my understanding is the lines have subsided.
Okay, and then the other one was the passes for the trustees. Where's Mike?
Here I am. I'll be ready at the end of this week.
Okay. That's all for unfinished business? Anybody else? New business? No new business? Motion to adjourn?
There was, I'm sorry, before we adjourn, there was a question. Mrs. Gaon, do you have those numbers? I think you gave them to me, actually.
534.
How many kids?
Yes. Do you know them offhand to keep me from looking at this?
There were
So there's a
five-
question that came up last meeting about how many children were either disenrolled or did not re-register, and we wanted to share that data.
Why did I ask that question?
So we had 534 students that had left the district since July. So a portion of those would be attributed to not being able to re-register and registering in their proper school districts. We have about 200 students that are still in our school district that did not complete the re-registration process that we're working on cleaning up. So that's where we're at. And now we're going to be sending out the first letters for students that, or for families whose leases have expired. So that's something that we captured in the re-registration. We made sure that we put into the system when the family's lease expires. So we're going to go now through the end of October, so anybody that needs to, they basically have to come in and document that they still live in the district.
So what's our total enrollment now?
I didn't commit that number
Oh,
to
you
memory.
We have a lot more because of the preschool, correct?
We still have, that does not include preschool, that just includes school-age students.
And we are seeing a number of students who are registering in our district who technically qualify as homeless who are displaced because of the hurricane in Puerto Rico.
This is really unfinished business, but do we have a status on the uniform implementation? Is it still going strong, or
It's
is it
still
waned?
going strong. We're averaging between 85 and 89% daily participation.
Nice. That's awesome. That's great.
And we had our first pizza party last week.
Are we putting uniform stores in the school?
What we are looking at is a uniform donation bank for next year. So as kids outgrow the uniforms, parents can buy slightly used uniforms. And then we're trying to develop a different kind of partnership with the vendor so we can begin to get them cheaper and maybe buy them ourselves, and rather than having a vendor do them and have our own stores.
Because we had a vendor at the convention who says that they were cheaper than all the other stores, and then they donate $1 back to the school.
Oh, okay.
Guess I should have saved that card, right? I didn't-
Yeah,
Did we
send
go
that to me.
into the winter uniform? Did we purchase sweatpants?
They did, yes, the vendors did provide that option. I don't know how many parents took advantage of it,
Oh.
but I know the ones that I went to, when they were setting up in the schools, they did have that as an option.
We have, the enrollment number pre-K to 12 is 8,100 students.
Okay.
So that is a decrease from last year.
Wow. Thank you. All right, motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
Trustee Williams, all those in favor?
Yes. Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you.